All right, good. So what I'm going to do is we are right now going to go into the Gary, it's a little cool for the low 80s. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. All right. Let's get started with the agenda here. I'm going to blow through these first things real quickly, and then we're going to kind of get into some details that go in a little bit different direction than normal for a webinar. But I think it's very important, and like I said, it was kind of inspired a little bit by some things that Tyree had said. So the You Can Make It webinar, welcome. You're here this morning at the You Can Make It webinar. This is an interactive learning experience. I really like that phrase because your questions are extremely important, and we want to make sure that we address those, that you get an opportunity to be able to exchange pleasantries with other people and share in that whole learning experience. Collectively, we can learn much better than we can individually. So I want this to be a very interactive learning experience. And sometimes your questions take something in a direction that we really need to go. Sometimes they may take us off the wrong way, and we'll address that if it does. But for the most part, they do a great job. Next thing is support each other. And you do a really good job of that. I was watching everybody address each other earlier, and you do the same thing in the group. And we want this to be a community where people can be creative. So we want you to add to that creative environment. I talk about that creativity all the time and how important it is. That just as Rose said, take those support questions to support. Keep this a creative environment. Keep the group a creative environment. Make sure that you have cleared everything out of your head that can get in the way from you being creative. And that's really what we want to focus on. We're going to look beyond the how. Sometimes the things that I demonstrate are very elementary, but I do the elementary demonstrations and not the heavy detail because I have to squeeze that into about a 40-minute presentation. And that's a little bit more difficult to do. So we're going to focus more our attention on why you do these things rather than just how you do them. This is not intended to be a step-by-step tutorial. Instead, it's intended to help you learn how to solve problems that you might run into with design, with marketing, with anything that fits in the category of how we might be able to help you so you can make it. Understand? Does that make sense to everybody? We're going to have fun. That's the last one. We're just going to have fun. Okay? All right. Having said that, let's jump into some things here because I have some really cool stuff I want to share with you. I think that we don't talk about this enough, and so I'm going to talk about it a little bit today. Your thoughts form your results. So the moment, and I see this all the time, you hear me talk about this a lot, the moment somebody says, I'm frustrated, your thoughts, the results are going to be frustrating. You have to get that stuff out of your head. That's the reason why support's there. Hand it off to support, move on, do something else. And they'll get back with you. They'll solve the problem. But your thoughts form your results. If you wake up in the morning thinking that I am creative and I'm going to use my creativity to be an inspiration and a profit to other people, then guess what happens? You are creative and you start focusing the results that you want. But if you wake up frustrated, guess what happens? Your thoughts form your results. They trigger emotions, and those emotions creep into the things that we do, and it causes us issues. Good morning, Eva. Glad to see you on with us today. So keep this in mind. Your thoughts form your results. If you have a negative thought, guess what your results are going to be? If you're frustrated, guess what your results are going to be? I think sometimes we focus that there's only one way to get out of the box, when we don't realize that we're staring at one wall and the back end of the box is wide open. So keep your mind open and free to be able to form the results that you want. Is everybody good with that? Does that make sense? I want you to get a hold of that, because I think we miss this sometimes. And we think this is mechanical, and it's not. It comes from deep thinking that is clean and clear, and a creative environment for those thoughts to take place. If we miss that, we're going to miss it a lot. Okay? Now, keeping that in mind, I like to make my stuff really simple. So this is not in the group. This has nothing to do with anything. This just was fun for me. So I did this morning, sent this to my grandson. My grandson loves to go to the safari park with me. And for some reason, he calls the llamas bucktooth. And every time I talk to him, he wants to know about bucktooth. Have you seen bucktooth? Because I take him to the safari park. And so I had to ask this question this morning. Tyson, where you been? From bucktooth. Right? Keep your stuff really simple. Make it fun. Have a good time. Tyree says it's kind of a funny picture. And I think it is kind of a funny picture. It's a picture from the llama park with Tyson's favorite animal in the safari park, bucktooth. Now, we go from the extremely simple to the much more detailed. Melody created this. And Melody was playing with some color splash here and having a lot of fun with that. However, there was a little process that we had discussed last week having to do with saving using crop. And so she went back and followed the instructions. I say this because I want you to get this. She went back and followed the instructions from the webinar. But as I say over and over and over again, the webinar replays are never going to be good step-by-step tutorials, not intended to be step-by-step tutorials, because we focus on how. And she caught one little thing that I did that she didn't catch the first time around, and that was I never saved it when I had it in crop because there wasn't any reason for me to save it because I was doing it in the webinar. That's why they're not good step-by-step tutorials. But they're great ways for you to learn how things work and why they work and why that process is going to be beneficial to you. How many of you looked at that picture that Melody did and tried to figure out what it was that she was doing? And Rose just shared the color splash tutorial there. We didn't talk about color splash last week, but we did talk about saving in crop. And that was really the only relevant conversation that I had to her post here. But that was really good. And be sure and check out that tutorial if you want to check out color splash, because pretty cool feature to be able to add to your design. Think about taking an average ordinary image that you find someplace and then adding this. Is that going to be helpful, make your stuff stand out? Will that help your stuff stand out if you can make images look like this? Yeah, that's what I thought. All right, next thing that I want to show from the group. I don't know what this was about. This isn't about Suzetta. I just didn't know what this was about. I don't know if this is two images or one. I didn't have enough information here to be able to help with this. I know some of you had lengthy conversation about this. I just didn't. I didn't get it. And I say this only for one reason. I think sometimes we have to. The whole purpose of the image is to capture your attention long enough for people to get it. And I didn't get it. And yeah, I think so too. I think I think she was trying to limit the amount of text that she had on the image. But and again, please don't take this as a criticism. This is nothing about this. I just didn't. Yeah, the verbiage is always important. I tell you this all the time. The image by itself doesn't do enough. If it doesn't capture your attention and make you want to get it, then you need to do something that does. But there's three elements here. There's a call to, in every Facebook ad, there's at least three elements. There's the text that you have at the top, there's the image, and then there's the call to action at the bottom. And so by itself, I didn't get it. I just didn't get it. So the only reason why I added this is because I wanted you to see that you still have to use all three of those elements. Because if you don't use all three of those elements, Unless, of course, you're making a flyer or something like that, where the only thing that you have is the flyer. You don't have the call to action that's there with the down here at the bottom for a call to action on a Facebook ad. So you have to make sure that it's relevant. I didn't understand what this was. This was going to be a Facebook ad, but I didn't know what the rest of the comments were. And without that, sometimes you're missing something. Does that make sense to everybody? I think sometimes we think that the image is going to do something, and we're not so sure that it does. And without the other two elements, sometimes something falls flat on its face. But this was good because it was helpful. And I saw the conversations everybody had with her, because it by itself, unless you knew exactly what this was about, you're lost. And I was. This is not my world. This is not my space. And I could not. It would not have caught my attention. I would have been completely confused. But I do that for one reason, and that is to show you that the other two elements in a Facebook ad are extremely important. That's the verbiage that you have at the top and the call to action that you have at the bottom. So don't forget how powerful those are. This was a great reminder of that. Okay. All right. Again, this was not anything about Suzetta's ad. It was just simply, that's the first thing that went through my head was, I need to know more about what she's wanting to accomplish. And that's why sometimes we have to include those other things in order for people to do that. All right. Does that make sense to everybody? All right. This is what we're going to do next. I'm going to take a little bit different turn here for just a moment, because we had a really, really quiet week in the group. So we're going to take a little bit different turn. I did notice that Elle posted something as I was just about getting ready to wrap up and head in for the webinar. And so I didn't get a chance to share that. We'll maybe do that next week, because she had a really interesting thing that she did with 3D looking kind of elements with tags. And so we'll talk about that next week. Okay. So I want to take a little bit different tact here and share with you something that I think can be helpful to you, because I think sometimes this popped up in my Facebook memories the other day, something that I had done a couple of years ago. I used to travel the country teaching a seminar entitled Sell What You Got. That was the title of the seminar. It's bad English, but it was a great seminar. It was called Sell What You Got. And the reason why I did that was because and what created the foundation for that was that I had been in a region, an insurance region, where our state had the highest restrictions. And so there was a number of products that we could never sell in our state, and I still had the highest sales. And somebody said, how do you do that when you don't have as much stuff? I said, I just sell what I got. I just sell what I've got. And I think sometimes we look outside of the box that we have, looking for other things, so that I'll be successful if I do this, or I'll be successful if I have that. And the honest to goodness truth is that internet marketers play on that all the time. So I'm telling you that because I want you to understand how powerful that sell what you got really is. I actually had a guy who attended one time, and he said it was the most life-changing comment that he'd ever heard, because we all get in this habit of being dissatisfied with what we have, thinking that what we need is something else. And if you'll sell what you've got, then life will be better. So what I've done since that time is I have formulated my life. You all got really quiet in chat. So it's like, this guy's boring me, so I'm going to turn it off. Is that what's going on? What's happening here? You got to talk to me so I can get a drink of coffee, actually. I'm trying to lose my voice today, and I want to be totally unsuccessful at that. So, all right. So I'm going to give you 3 words. This is the 3 words that I plan my year around 3 words. I planned my entire year around 3 words. I took that from Chris Brogan. He had that 3-word thing, and I think it's incredibly powerful. Last year, my 3 words last year were build, content, and community. And the result has been that I've been able to be involved in some pretty amazing things, but I used those 3 words to evaluate every opportunity last year. Every opportunity I evaluated with those 3 words. Somebody said, would you like to do this? I said, no, because it doesn't fit my 3 words. Somebody said, would you like to do this? Yes, I would love to do that because it fits the 3 words. I used the 3 words to evaluate my year. So I'm going to share with you the 3 words that I have for this year. I'm going to talk about how they relate to everything that we're talking about on the You Can Make It webinar. Okay? Are y'all interested in that? And here are my 3 words. The 3 words from last year were content, community, and build. The 3 words for this year are this: stewardship, simplify, and impact. Stewardship, simplify, and impact. Now, what that means is that I purchased YOUZIGNERS. If I'm going to be a good steward, I have to master everything it can do. Does that make sense? Because a good steward wouldn't go buy a bunch of other stuff thinking that until you had completely exhausted the ability that you currently have. Does that make sense to everybody? If we'll practice stewardship, how much more important will that be? Stewardship. I recognized this last week that 1 year ago this week, I was doing a webinar. I used to make a lot of money off of webinars. I used to do webinars all the time. I used a webinar to introduce everything that I did. And I had amazing results with that. And I loved doing webinars. But there was one thing about doing webinars. I had people that I would do the webinars with. And I used their webinar platform. And then I made this mistake. I didn't want to pay a monthly subscription fee. Are y'all paying careful attention to me? I didn't want to buy a monthly subscription. So I chased after 2 or 3 lifetime deals that didn't work. Have any of you ever done that? And so what happened to me a year ago? What happened to me a year ago was I was doing a webinar on a platform that I was frustrated with because it didn't work right. It was a webinar that I was going to use that was a part of my income. I got sick in the middle of the webinar and passed out. And for some strange reason, I never picked that back up again. That's bad stewardship. I know better than that. So what did I do? I went and bought a webinar platform last week. And I said, that's it. I got to go back to doing what I know how to do. I know how to do that. I've been really good at it. I know how to do it. And I let myself do exactly what Ray's saying. That's chasing after another big thing instead of focusing my attention where it belonged. And that's back on the thing that I do best. Does that make sense to everybody? You understand what I'm talking about when I talk about stewardship? This has to become the governing principle for which I'm going to use for the year. Yeah, I agree. About half of those are a bust. And I understand it's a cost of doing business, but it's a high cost of doing business. And so it brings me to the next word, and the next word, simplify. Simplify. If I add another, whatever it is, if I add another platform, I've got to learn it. I don't care what it is, I got to learn it. And I promise you, if I learn it, I'm going to ignore some things, or I'm not going to catch some things, or I'm going to miss something. And then I'm going to be mediocre at 2 things rather than really great at 1. Simplify. Simplify. When I first met Rose, are you paying attention? I'm going to talk about you for just a second. When I first met Rose, Rose's profile said that she was a minimalist. My profile said I was a minimalist. I'm all about simplifying. I think we need to simplify. There aren't any silver bullets, Bob. There just aren't. The whole thing is there aren't any silver bullets. We have to simplify our life, and we can simplify our life by doing something where it's we know it so well it becomes second nature. Simplify. I know without looking where to find everything that's in YOUZIGNER. Right? And I can do this. Somebody can call me on the phone and I can tell you where to go without looking at the platform. That makes my life really simple. I agree, Francis, but it's not, because there's always a learning curve. Show me a product that doesn't have a learning curve. There's a language to learn. There's a culture to learn. There are elements in the platform that you don't know and you have to learn. That's exactly what I've been doing, right? It was time to clean out the closet, cancel some unused software subscriptions, get rid of those things, and simplify. A minimalist is somebody who takes what they have and makes the most out of it so that they're not bogged down with a bunch of things. That's the easiest definition there is. The hardest thing you'll ever do is simplify, because Stephen just said one quality of eloquence is simplicity. If you make things complicated, you sound important, but making things simple, you sound like a genius. The last one is the word impact, because the order of the 3 words last year wasn't important. The order of the 3 words this year is extremely important, because if I'm not going to be a good steward, then what happens is I start to accumulate stuff, and then I've got to sort through. I mentally have to sort through all of that, right? I mentally have to sort through all of that, which makes my life more complicated than simplified. And if my life is complicated, I reduce the ability that I have to make an impact. There are 9 software platforms that I can't live without. 9. That sounds like a lot, but I promise you there are some people who have 9 of one thing in one category. So it's not. But knowing those 9 inside out and backwards makes my life very simple. But the next thing that it does is it makes it really easy for me to have an impact. Mike, I can't share that with you on the webinar because they're not all YOUZIGNER. Okay. And so I'm careful about that. So this is my point, but Mike, I actually even have written an ebook about those 9 platforms and why I use them and how important that they are and why I didn't look anywhere else. Because every time something new comes out, I look at my list and go, I already have that. Yeah, but this one's easier. No, it's not. I already know this one. I can do this inside out and backwards. Right? So it makes it easy for me to have an impact. And it makes the impact bigger. Melody follows me on multiple platforms and she knows that I do that, you know? So keep it simple. Yeah, I don't want to share with you what the 9 things are today. You know, you have to have an autoresponder. You have to build a landing page. You have to be able to create an ebook. You have to be able to put design on that. So those are all the things that are essential elements. I put all of my ebooks in a membership site. Okay, so so I have to be able to do that. Have to be able to master that. I have a support platform that I use, and you got to do that. Okay. Okay. Several of you are asking if you'll do this, if you'll send me a note in Facebook, I will be glad to send you a link to the book. Okay. That sound fair? So I don't want to take up any more time on here with that. But this is what this looks like. Okay. This is what simplified looks like. I want to show you, I've never done this before. Ray's asked me to do it before. Bob's asked me to do it before. So I'm going to show you, somebody wanted a picture of what it looked like when I was in the McDonald's doing the webinar from there. I want to show you what my everyday webinar looks like. Okay. Ray, that's exactly right. So many times we get sucked into, I'm gonna do video. No, you don't do videos, you know. Now I do step-by-step videos. I do instructional videos. And so this is what my instructional video studio looks like. That's it. That's everything that I have. Because again, I'm a minimalist. I don't spend a lot of money on a lot of stuff. That's an old used iPhone. All right. That's an old used iPhone. And that is a ring light that I bought for $29. Behind it is the most expensive investment I've made in an attachment, and that's a tripod. And I spent $59 for that tripod. But you see the legs of the one that I used to use in the background over there. I spent $20 for it. Prior to that, I did the, yeah, I'm gonna talk about stickers in just a minute, Gene. Prior to that, I took double sticky tape, stuck my phone on a book that I stood up on my desk so that I could do my live feeds. I did 100 live feeds like that. Keep it simple. Keep it very simple. You say, well, you'll never get anywhere. I sold thousands and thousands of dollars worth of services as a result of doing those little live feeds like that. And this is my entire studio. No, I don't even have a lapel mic. I don't have an external mic. I use the Bluetooth. I use the Snowball. I'm using the Snowball right now, but that's the only thing I have. I've never used it. I've done thousands. I shouldn't say thousands. I've done hundreds and hundreds of videos with nothing more than my iPhone holding it in my hand. And no microphone, no nothing. Keep it simple, okay? If you can't take this and sell what you got, do you think adding something else to it's going to make it better? That's my question. That's the value of the sell what you got statement. Because if you can't sell what you got, do you think you're going to sell what you don't got? That was a question. But you'll be able to make videos, Ray. No, you make t-shirts. Make t-shirts really well. That's the point. All right. I just wanted to share those things with you. I had to get that off my mind. I think sometimes what we've got inside of our head gets in our way. And we pay attention to the noise, and the noise gets us in trouble. The little box on top of the laptop is actually the remote control for my camera, for my phone. That's what that is. No, that's what I realized, Steve. I can't do all of those things. And so I'm better off to do what I do best. And that's where I had to focus my attention, because I'm trying to simplify. Yeah, the magic about Orville Redenbacher, since Ray brought up Orville Redenbacher, do one thing and do it better than anyone else. The magic about Orville Redenbacher, does anybody know what Orville Redenbacher did that made him so incredibly famous? All of you who are saying popcorn are wrong. He did one thing with popcorn that had never been done. Any guesses? He called it gourmet. He called it gourmet popping corn. Who had ever used the word gourmet to talk about popcorn? It was brilliant. But you couldn't have gourmet popping corn and have it in a bag. You had to put it in a special package. And he did have really good popcorn. But that's the point. There's magic in those words because it creates an image inside of your head. That's the reason why we were talking about this up here. I didn't know what image was in my head because the words didn't make sense to me attached with the image. When I used the word gourmet and popcorn, it brings up a visual image that I can't get out of my head, and so I spend $5 for that jar rather than $1 for that bag. Right? Very important that you understand those things because that's the difference between somebody who can put stuff in a design and the person who can make it magic for the other person. For a long time, I wrote copy, sales copy. Now I write it for me, but for a long time I wrote it for other people. And I went to a meeting one time and somebody said, so what is it that you do? So we were all introducing ourselves and what we did. And they said, what do you do? And I said, I'm a copywriter. Well, nobody knew what a copywriter was. So I followed that up by saying, because I didn't even give people time to think, what is a copywriter? I said this, if you have something more complicated to sell than a Big Mac, I can help you. Now, does that conjure up an image in your head? That's my point. Okay, we got to move on. But I wanted you to see this. I think this is really important, okay? Now, there's been some updates to Printify that you should have, if you're a Printify user, you should have gotten some notification about that. Remember, I don't have anything to do with Printify. This is not a sales pitch for them, but these were things that can really help you and help you to become amazing. Okay. Being able to switch providers on a product, that's really important. Okay. Because sometimes you'll test out no, it has nothing to do with Usign. This is just, I did this simply for one reason, and that was to try to help you all to be able to take what you have and make money with it. And Printify was the easiest way to do that. And their ability to be able to switch providers. You may try a t-shirt company and you didn't like the quality of shirt that you got, so you can switch the provider even after you have your product in your store. So that was important. Product selective publishing, and so that was a good tool as well. But the last one, custom order import, if you don't have it currently in your store, you can actually add that to the store because the customer requested it. So those were good features that can really be beneficial to you. I loved KISS stickers. Somebody saw those just a minute ago. You can see this on the corner of my laptop. This is what they look like. And these were the KISS stickers that we talked about last week. And we created that new sticker and updated because the Printify company didn't like the fact that they were two separate stickers rather than one. So we fixed that. But my point is, those are amazing. They're amazing. The question was asked last week, are they transparent? Absolutely. While you see a little reflection here that indicates where the outside outline around this is at, if you're looking at it straight on, you don't see it. Okay. You just don't see it. And this is cool. Nobody else is doing this right now. So this is a cool feature that you can take and run out the door and create these so that they can put it on the outside of their door. For a brick and mortar store can put it on the outside of their door, or they can put it places that you can put instructions to people. These are the kind of things that you can do. You can take what you have inside your box. All right. I did this with YOUZIGNERS, right? Take what you have. They just look amazing. I was really impressed with this. I just was impressed with it. All right. The next thing that you can do, I saw this and I screen capped it because I wanted you to see this. This is something we've talked about a little bit, something that Gene's a master at. And I wanted you to see this. We may try to even do the process this morning. Okay. Yes, that's a pretty good statement, Tyree. Simple makes awesome easy. I wonder who said that. I loved this video. All right. Look at the way, and this whole video plays inside of here. Nothing ever changes over here. But again, it wasn't necessarily the video that caught my attention. Yeah. It wasn't necessarily the video that caught my attention as much as it was the language that was at the top and the bottom. Now, I saw that. I saw the person talking in the video. I had my sound turned off. You can see that the sound's turned off here. But this ad caught my attention because of the language at the top and the bottom. That's an overlay. We've talked about creating overlays several times in the webinar. But when this one came across my phone, I went, that's what I want everybody to see. All right? Do you see how the overlay enhances the video? And I want to show you something else about that as well. What this person who did this did is that they captured, it wasn't the video that captured my attention because I have my sound turned off. What captured my attention was that the way that this was laid inside of the video itself as an overlay. So now look what's happened here. I agree, Brad, this is a very nice, simple overlay, but look what's happened. The overlay catches attention. The video is the explanation. I have this verbiage up here at the top. We were talking about this a while ago, right? I have this verbiage up here at the top, and then I have this call to action down here at the bottom. Yeah, Francis, thank you for saying that. More than 50% of the viewers don't have sound. This is proof of this. This ad caught my attention. I screen capped it and noticed I didn't have my video on, or didn't have my sound turned on. And so it proves the point. Now look down here. You think this hasn't been beneficial? 4,500 reactions. 4,500 reactions to this. 203 comments and 2,200 shares. You don't think that this isn't powerful? This overlay on the top and bottom? If that had not been there, then I would have been stuck with having to catch this attention. I would have completely ignored it if it did not have the overlay over it. We're not going to let you do video, right? But do you see how important that is? Now, the truth is, right, you could do this by showing, you could do this with still images and create a video from those. Gene knows how to do that. Gene does it all the time. You could take 7 still images and create a video from those 7 still images and still do the overlay over the top of it. But this captured my attention and moved me in a positive direction. The next thing, that video, that is supposed to be gone. So we'll delete that slide. One slide I forgot to cut out. Okay, so we're gonna learn how to do overlay in just a second. So what I did was I took a picture of a video so that the only thing, this is a terrible picture, by the way. I did this. I never live stream. I never, ever, ever do a video. As a matter of fact, it's funny because when I turned this video on, it says I've never done video in portrait mode, because I've never done video in portrait mode. I always do it in landscape mode. But for this particular layout right here, you need to be in portrait mode. to make this work really well. You don't have to be, but this looks really good here in portrait mode. So I went and found the only video I've ever done in portrait mode. And I captured it because I need the proportions for the overlay at the top and bottom, correct? If I'm going to put an overlay on here, I need to know where it goes. I need to make sure that it's proportionally correct. All right, so having said all of that, what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to do the overlays. All right, are y'all up for that? While I change my screen. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute and switch to a different canvas. Okay. So give me just a second to do that. So what you're looking at there should be the a picture that I have in the UZign canvas, correct? Is that what everybody's seeing? Let me make sure everybody's seeing that. All right. So what I'm going to do to create the overlay, I have two options. I like to keep my life really, really simple. So what I'm going to do with this overlay is I'm going to create two. Okay. And I need to have the proportions of this so I don't end up with this dorky looking overlay. So what I'm going to do is this. Let me take a vector image right here and do this. All right, because I don't want that up in my chin. I want to make sure that it's in a place that is easy for me to, you see what I'm doing? All right, so now I'm going to duplicate that. Not that image, good grief. That's enough of Eric. We don't need to see any more of Eric. But this is the only video I had that was in portrait mode, so I'm sorry, but you have to look at me for a moment. Now, do you see what I've done? I have two images. I have a couple of options. Now, I can delete this background image. All right, and I can make that background transparent. That was from something else I was working on. I can make that background transparent, but I need to know where I need to know where the center that's at, where my chin's at, where my nose is at. I need to know where those things are at so that my end result looks good. I personally think that you have to do way too much precise positioning to make this style of an overlay work. And again, I like to keep things very, very simple. You all understand that? We're going to keep this very, very simple. But I could easily create my overlay here, make this black if I wanted to make it black, and make this one the same black color. And now, if that image was in the background here, you'd see that would make a nice looking overlay, right? Y'all agree with that? But this is what I'm going to do instead. Instead of making this transparent and have to position it perfectly over the top of that, what I'm going to do instead is I'm only going to have one of these. I'm now going to crop this so that this is now that size. Okay. So now I have this. Drop my text in here. All right. Y'all see what I'm doing here? So I want to make sure I've got that centered. All right. So I've got this centered. I'm going to download it. I can download this one as a JPEG because I don't have to have anything in the back of it, right? Now, my favorite hamburger joint on the planet, because I love butter burgers. I can't tell you what a butter burger is other than amazing. If I did this live feed from inside of Culver's, maybe you're starting to see a pattern here. I do a lot of live feeds from inside of restaurants. Maybe that says more about me than it should, but let's sexy this up just a little bit. We're gonna throw a border around the outside of it like that. Okay, so that'll be good. Now, no, this is not the thumbnail of the video. I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do with this. Hang on just a second. I gotta download this one. Okay. Oh, now I've downloaded those two images from YOUZIGNERS. Let me stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to switch screens now. Okay. And you'll see why I did that in just a second. Now, there's that same shot that we just had inside of my video editing tool, right? Now, I'm going to add those two pieces that I just downloaded. All right. Give me just a second, and you'll see them. And then I'm going to do the next one. Now, the editing tool isn't nearly as important as what I do with it, all right? Oh, that goes on the top. Now, do you see how the proportions are correct? Very important to have those proportions correct. Now, I've made them a little bit more on the inside. I did that on purpose because I wanted you to see how to reposition this. I can actually reposition this slightly. And I can now, because I have this, I can now bury a little bit of that I didn't have before, okay? So I've got functionality here. If I had made that with a transparent background and made this a single piece overlay, I'd have to position it perfectly. This one, I have room to play. Does that make sense to everybody? Again, I like to keep things very simple. Now do you see what we've done? How easy was that? I could move. I could do a lot of things with it, Gene. I just wanted to show you the easiest, simplest way to do this. And for me, it's. I'm going to use this phrase on purpose. It's more simpler to make it two separate videos like this. Yeah, looks like you're sleeping at Culver's. Thank you for recognizing that, Tony. I appreciate that. I don't know what version of Camtasia it is. I have no idea. It's the one that's on my computer. So I could change this out, or I can just stretch it so that it plays through, so it stays there through the whole video. Now this video happens to be 9 minutes long, but how easy is that to do? How many of you can do that? That very thing I just did. How many of you could do that? It wouldn't matter whether it was Camtasia or something else. You can do that. That's my point. I don't want you to get hung up on the. Again, we go back to that simplify. It's not a matter of. I have to have Camtasia so I can do what Eric did. The point is that what I need to do is I need to be able to master what I have so that this works. All right. It's not a thumbnail. This is what I have here is not a thumbnail. What I have here is an overlay that plays inside the video that is there while the video plays. Now, I think y'all can see this, so watch. I'm going to have to turn the sound off, though. I'm inside of a really, really busy Culver's. You see that? Now I have done exactly what I saw earlier in that video that captured my attention without the sound on. And Gene's the master of overlays. That's the reason why I did this one as simple as possible, because I promise you, every one of you could do that in the next 10 minutes after we get off the webinar. I live and die by screencast, Big Head Bob. Trust me. I just happen to have Camtasia from years ago. And it's easy to illustrate here in Camtasia. I have 1,275 videos on Camtasia. I agree, Gene. Let's post some examples of this after the webinar, because it's really easy. It's not hard to do. But you saw the results of that in the video that guy did before, right? Now, I would love to be able to have the kind of background that he had in that video. I have one thing that gets me, and Tyree, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about you. Tyree does his videos in front of a green screen, which makes it really easy for him to change the backgrounds out. The problem with me with green screens, and y'all have to know that this is important, so you know this, okay? My hair all stands up like this. When you cut out the green screen chromograph, all the green shows through my hair. And I look really goofy. Yes. Thank you for answering that question, Gene. You can actually, like I said, I could change these out if I wanted to do that. Whatever, okay? Yeah, the hair thing is kind of interesting, all right? When my hair is 1.5 inches long, it still wants to stand straight up. So I just decided I would cut it short and let it stand straight up. But how many of you can do this? How easy is this to do? This is not complicated. This is simple stuff. I made it as simple as possible inside of YOUZIGNERS so that you all could do it. I've had a bad hair day for 12 years. Yeah, gray or blonde is really difficult on the green screen. And this is, I've done everything wrong here. I'm sitting in a corner, so I have the two handrails that are going down, pointing right into the back of my neck. Just a lot of things, but you get my point. Any other questions before we go? Ray says, what's a green screen? It would make me look good. What a green screen is in my case, make me look really goofy. It's that green chromograph color that's how you see all the stuff in the background on the Weather Channel. Yeah. Pete, you're funny. Now this is the easiest way to do an overlay. Easiest way ever to do an overlay. But I wanted you to see how everybody can do this one. We'll do more that are a little more complicated in future videos, but you can do this. I mean, I made two images, this one and this one. Brought them over and dropped them on my video. Very simple, not hard to do at all. It took more time, honestly, it took more time to screen capture this so I'd get these positioned properly than anything else. Right? All right. You all have been great. I've enjoyed the tail end of this. Thank you for allowing me to share with you what was on my mind about the thoughts that go on inside of your head and how that we can make that. If we change that and we focus on, I don't care what your 3 words are, but if you have 3 words that you can focus on, your life will be different. I promise. I promise it'll be different. Okay. Thank you for joining me. Have an absolutely phenomenal weekend. I know some of you are going to try to stay warm over the weekend. We're going to get back to flip-flop weather really soon. So I'll be back here next Friday, same time, same place, same everything, new topic. Okay. Thanks for joining me today.